I don't think I do it.
But Arsenal started like house on fire. Signing number 2 for this new era. It's judgment day, people. Yeah! What did your boy tell you? It was never in doubt. Never in doubt. Don't believe in any luck, I believe I'm self-made, yeah. Now then, people, listen, I know you all hate that scream, but it'd be nice to actually win a game of football and be able to do that on a regular basis, to be fair. So enjoy it.
Or even just score a goal would be nice.
Well, exactly, bro. This is where we're at, isn't it? Before we get into it, folks, as is always the case, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, hit the notification bell. We've got 300 people in the room already. Big up to each and every one of you. Thank you all for being here. Make sure you also subscribe to the rest of the panel's channels as well, which are all in the description. Listen, I've done this a death now personally on my channel. You have heard from me quite enough, and I see this as being some sort of therapy. Now, I know having little chats just before we came live, I don't know if we're going to get a lot of good coming out of this, but we'll try. We'll try. I'm gonna put it straight on Max because he's the resident positive one, or the most positive, or tries to be at least. So Max, talk to me, bro. How are you feeling? Your beard's getting longer. That's something.
Yeah, I'm not shaving until we win a game of football.
You look like ZZ Top.
Yeah. At the moment, there's not a single positive to have, is there? It's horrendous, but let's just say if we've got to find some sort of positive from somewhere, I think it's within reason that we can stay up if we actually get a manager in as soon as possible. I think it's definitely possible for us to stay up. At the moment, we're not too far off it, as in terms of points, not in terms of the way we're playing, because obviously we'll talk about that. But I think if we actually get a proper competent manager with a track record like Nuno or Rafa, at this point, I'm happy for Nuno or Rafa. They're good, experienced managers. They've done it before in the Premier League. They've done it before in the Championship as well, if needs be. And so I think you just got to get one of them in and just let him do his business. Let him have so much control of the club in terms of basically like what Bielsa did, because Bielsa seemed to know what he was doing from top to bottom of the club. And obviously that papered over some of the cracks that were there. But if we get someone in soon, I think we can stay up. But at the moment, I don't even know what to say about it. It's horrendous football, horrendous decision-making from board level. Everything's just in the bin.
That positive bit went well, didn't it?
The only way is up, I guess. But
Start negative, positive in the middle, and then negative again. I think they call it a shit sandwich.
Shit sandwich, yeah. I know.
It's the opposite way around, though, shit sandwich.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Does anyone want to follow that? Well, I'll tell you what. I'll ask the question. Right.
Do you know what, Joe? There's some positives, but they could be really big negatives if they don't go our way. I mean, we got Fulham and Southampton next, not two of the most difficult games. You've got as Max said, a competent manager in. You've got Chelsea then, but then you've got Brighton, Wolves again. 2 more games after that where you could pick up points, and then after Arsenal, you got Palace. But like the shit bit for me is the bit at the end. We want to be out of any trouble before we get to the last 3 games of the season because it's Newcastle, West Ham, and Spurs. So we
City
need
before that as well, isn't it?
You got City right before. So you got City, Newcastle, West Ham, and Spurs. But we've got a block of games outside the odd one. Chelsea aren't great right now anyway either. There's winnable games there. There's games we could pick up points. 6 wins gets you safe, maybe, but we have to. What happened yesterday can't happen again. That's if there's another performance like that, we're in big trouble. There's my positive bit.
The facts were Everton were not even good either. They didn't really have to be good. Yeah, go on, Luke. Go on, mate.
No, I mean, you know, sort of my feelings towards sort of where we are, and I do try and see the positive in most situations. If there is one to be had, you know, I will always try and find something to take from that. I mean, there was one positive in yesterday, and that was Firpo. I think he's actually playing quite well. Albeit the rest of the team have been absolute gash yesterday. They were absolutely, I said as much yesterday. I said Firpo's actually just plateaued at a level. The rest of the team have just got shitter. He just looks good now. But no, look, yesterday they didn't have to do much to beat us. You know, we looked lackluster from kickoff pretty much. I didn't catch all of the first half. I was watching it on my phone, so I was sort of in and out and begging for the signal to go off. To be fair, more than not. But yeah, look. There's usually going into another game, you can usually take a few positives, and I think over the course of the season, we've always been able to take positive from games going into the next, and there's always been something that we can cling on to, whether it be under Marsh or whether it be the two previous for scum games. And I just felt from those scum games, which sure enough to go into that fixture this weekend and actually. You know, actually play well, and there wasn't a Leeds fan amongst us that actually thought we'd probably get beaten by a poor Everton side yesterday, missing Dominic Calvert-Lewin. You know, it was there for us. It was there for us to take, and we just didn't take it. And I think yesterday was the first time, other than the second half at Forest, that I've felt the players have let us down.
It looked like two teams who deserve to be in the relegation zone playing against each other. It was awful.
Yeah, it was really bad. Like, and yeah,
look at their front three as well. By the way, sorry, just their front three. You look at Dwight McNeil. They didn't have Calvert-Lewin, so they had Maupay in there, who's really, let's be honest, a championship striker. And then it was on the other wing. Was it Iwobi?
Yeah,
well, yeah.
Iwobi was okay, but like. That's not a good. It's not a potent attack, is it? And they did nothing. They were terrible, yet they still managed to beat us. Which,
yeah, I agree. Rocco, you were pretty. I guess I was a little bit more forgiving towards Skubala after Man United, saying, "Oh, do you know, I don't really blame him for the changes, etc." And you, to be fair, right to you, said, "No, he needs to take some of the blame." Just seeing that, I guess this was the acid test, wasn't it, Everton? Because we know Leeds United could get up against bigger teams. We've seen it even under the previous manager. But yesterday was just woeful from, like Luke said, from minute one, really.
It was, yeah. And, you know, again, Skubala, what can you really say? I don't know. You know, for me, it was on the players yesterday. You know, that was definitely worse than Everton last season for the plain reason that Everton were much, much worse than they were last season. Everton were diabolical and we could do nothing against them. It looked like a Marsh game. It looked like the early Marsh games. It looked like Aston Villa, that 3-0. You know, it looked like Brighton at home, like the second last game. People never really talk about it, but you know, that first half we were absolutely in disarray and they've just ripped through us, and the problem is we can't play out from the back. Like I started counting in the second half, we never got to 5 passes. We can't do it. We just can't get it into Adams or McKennie or whoever ever has played there since Bielsa's left, and we never play 1-2s. Never play 1-2s. We just can't play football anymore, and I don't know why, because you know, we all think the players are more talented than our league position. You know, maybe we're wrong, but it was just absolutely just so bad. I mean, a positive, I actually thought Koch had a decent game and I think he's playing quite well. But then, you know, positives after that, you sort of come into like, well, Saturday 3:00 kickoffs in the Championship, you know, that's quite nice. Beyond that, I don't know, because it really has got to that horrendous point now. I don't know what we have to get a manager in. We have to get someone who's experienced, who can do it. And like the other guys have said, Rafa and Nuno seem to be the only option and the sensible option.
Definitely sensible options. Just on the players, Chris, you know, I've been thinking about this, and that's why, you know, for me, we need someone that carries weight like Rafa or Nuno that's going to come in and, you know, someone said to me about Nuno, do you know about his man management? You should have seen what he was like at Spurs. But I look at these players and think, do you know what? That's what they need. Because Bielsa was not big on that. Bielsa didn't mollycollared them. I think the only time he cuddled them were when we won promotion from Championship. You know, they've had basically the most elite coach at blowing smoke up your ass in Jesse Marsh, really, if we're being totally honest, and it hasn't worked. And my worry is that hearing Skubala talk about the leadership group, that they've almost got too much power within the squad, because it seemed like he was willing to sub Bamford and Harrison off against Man United. Luke Ayling's not happy. And then at the weekend, he kept them both on far too long. Harrison, for me, that is the worst performance I have seen from him in a Leeds United shirt. And I mean that. Even back to the Championship when he couldn't, when he would always cut back instead of just putting the ball in. Yesterday was woeful. And still up to the 85th minute, he was ready to take a corner before Greenwood came on. I'm thinking, what are we doing? Why is he still on set pieces? Where's the leader going? Yo, Jack, move over because you're not on it today, mate. And I do worry, Chris, that maybe the players have got too much over Skubala and we do need someone in to say, listen, shut down, sit down, shut up. I'm the gaffer and this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, mate, I agree with you. And from what I saw yesterday is this group of players haven't got an ounce of fight in them. They're a bunch of bottle jobs. It's not the first time we've seen it from some of the so-called old guard as well who are still around the club. They've bottled things before. Let's go all the way back to the playoff semi-final, shall we, and stuff like that. It's a weak mentality, and I don't think we'll bring a manager in at all. I really don't. I don't expect to see one this week, not one bit. But if we did bring one in, it does need to be someone who's a strong mind, who basically, we go playground on him, right? You've all been naughty boys. Stand against the wall with your hands on your heads and your fingers on your lips or whatever, and pin your ears back and listen in. This is how it's going to go. There isn't a leader. You will have a club captain, which is Coop. So as it stands, they will be the go-between between me and the rest of you. The rest of you are on an even keel, and you're trying to play to earn your place. Simple as that. And if you don't, you're out. You're gone. And until they get that fired into them and a rocket up their arses, which they all need, every one of them, they were shocking yesterday. Absolutely awful. Even like Southampton, Everton, of course, all the other teams around us, I see them at least having fights. Southampton looked like they were giving every sinew when I watched Match of the Day highlights this morning of them. I turned it off when Leeds came on.
I hadn't even been able to watch it.
Honestly, the Southampton players throwing themselves in front of everything. I mean, it's a bit easier to do that when you've got something to cling on to, of course, which when you've got James Ward-Prowse in your team, there's always a chance you're going to score a set piece, right? But throwing themselves in front of everything, our lot looked like they would rather have been anywhere else but at Goodison Park yesterday. And it's not good enough. The one thing Leeds fans have always asked of their players is they give 100%. And no one can tell me that anyone on that pitch yesterday gave 100%. I thought they were absolutely shocking. And I said to you lads earlier in the group, I'm not even overly angry about it anymore. I'm done. Why should I get angry and upset and be raging when the owners don't give a monkeys? The players look like they don't give a monkeys. I'll support Leeds, whatever league we're in.
Yeah.
I'll still be a Leeds fan. So do you know what? If we go down the Championship, I'll still be there. The plastics can butter off, the half and half scarves can disappear, and the proper fans will still be there. And because I'm sick of being angry about this lot, because do you know what? They're not worth the hassle. They're just weak-minded individuals, a lot of them, especially players like Jack Harrison and Patrick Bamford. You're meant to stand up and lead from the front, right, when you're an experienced player. What I saw yesterday was just, what's up with Patrick Bamford's right foot?
Terrified of his own right foot.
Yeah, if that one where it was cut back across the box, it's a tap in if he uses his right foot. He tries to swing his left foot, but that's the second or third game in a row where he's had a good chance and missed the entirety of the ball.
He had the air shot as well a couple of weeks ago against Wolves. Yeah. He had a couple of, when he made his comeback initially, he had a couple on the right foot that he missed. Palace again when he played in that game. It's like he's allergic to his own right foot. That if he touches anything with it, he'll just, he'll swell up and have to go to hospital. It's incredible for a professional footballer. There's two things yesterday, just real quick. Pat Bamford's right foot and Christensen with throw-ins. I'm like, professional footballers, and you can't kick a ball with your right foot and you can't take a throw-in.
He's shocking him, He's woeful. But he's bad.
That as well is a management decision that I did not understand. We've got Cooper on the bench, who is a left centre-back. We always go on about square pegs and round holes and how we had players in the wrong positions, and it cost us in games last season and the season before. And now, Skubala, okay, he's not. You can't put too much blame on him because his first senior management job was at under 23s 6 months ago, and now he's being given the first team role. But to me, if your left centre-back gets injured and you've got a left centre-back on the bench, swap them. Why would you put your right back at centre back and another right back at right back when you know that Ayling made that mistake against Cardiff? Ayling's shocking as a centre back. I love him as a right back, but as a centre back, he's shocking.
The only explanation I can have, he's not fit and he's just making up numbers on the bench because he would have brought him on, Max. Like that, there's no other explanation. You've got an actual centre back in Diogo Montero, which
true.
He's only just come in, but what harm can it do rather than putting a right back at centre back? At least he's a centre back.
Gelder's done it. They came in last season. They were needed off the bench.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I just want to welcome a member to the show. Listen, this is the most like strong man kind of name, world's strongest man from the Nordic countries. It's Einar Daddy Haldarsson, I believe. So big up to you.
Scottish.
That was my Nordic accent.
Someone's watching.
You need more north. More north.
Yeah, more north. Okay. And Big Stu, Phil says, hey up, guys. Do you think because Bamford moaned about being subbed against Man United, 100%. Scoobs didn't have the bottle to sub him against
Absolutely.
Everton? Yeah. Go on, Luke. Take it.
Absolutely, mate. I think, and it just goes back to exactly what Chris was saying. He's an inexperienced manager, and he's coming. He's been managing the kids. He's then been thrown in at first team level, expected to manage a Premier League football team. Those first team players, those senior first team players that Chris mentioned, and probably one or two others, have probably got more of a say in that dressing room than what Scoobs has got. No doubt. It's very easy to get up for a game like Scum. It's very easy. I could get a team up for a game against Scum. You know, the crowd's immense. Everything's going for you, and ultimately you haven't got a lot to lose against an informed side that's expected to beat you. Against Everton, you could see how nervy and tetchy we were, and he absolutely bottled it with Scoobs, and he's absolutely shown that he's not the right man for the job based on, you know, we can't base it off the two Scum performances. We've actually got to base it off that one performance, which for me was by far the worst performance probably for me since we've been back in the Premier League.
The thing is with the Man United games as well, they make it look as though he did an okay job because we're playing it's Leeds against Man United. Leeds are always going to be up for the game, and they're going to be thinking this is a team that's much better than us. We're going to dig in. We're going to try and sit back and stop them from scoring, and then try and maybe nick a goal ourselves. So you're always going to look better in those games because you're not trying to win as much, if you get what I mean. Then you go to Everton and you have to win, and that's when we haven't got the bottle. Like I can't remember, I think it might have been Chris before saying it. We haven't got the bottle to win those games. We've seen it so many times before. We go to teams that we need to beat, and we just don't, and we bottle it, and we just don't have the fight to actually go and win a game of football. I mean, I can't get at Meslier too much because the amount of times he saved us as well. That Liverpool game, we wouldn't have got 3 points if it wasn't for him. So, but still, it's a stupid mistake.
I wish we wouldn't have got 3 points against Liverpool now, mate. I wish Meslier would have thrown him in back at net. We won't be in this situation.
But I think Skabala as well, I don't think it's necessarily been Radrizzani or Orta or whatever that's asked him to be the first team coach. I think it's been between him, Armas, and Paco Gallardo, and they've had to decide between themselves who's going to be the first team coach. Because why else would he be the one when the other two have got much more experience? Why would he be the one that steps up? He's probably been the only one with the bottle to step up and say, all right, I'll do it. Because otherwise, why would you not pick the more experienced coaches? I think it's been left to them to decide who they're going to nominate to be the face of it. And I think he's just the one with the biggest bollocks.
It's crazy, though. I mean, it says everything about the club and the state that we're in, that these guys are the most experienced people left at the club that are leading the team now. Like normally when a manager gets sacked at a Premier League club, you've got someone I just literally can't fathom how we've kept appointing these people that are just nowhere near the level of Premier League with no experience. And I mean, this is what I said at the beginning of the season. I was worried that we'd go down, and the main reason being there's not a single person at the club that's proven in the Premier League. Even the players that have been there 2 years, like the first year was behind closed doors. So, you know, having been so close to going down and then losing the two best players that you rely on so heavily, like their confidence must have been really shaky. And as soon as it starts getting hard and you're looking around the dressing room, like, what have you got? You've got nothing. And they've continued to buy players that, you know, have even got even less experience in the game, you know, like Rutter for 30 million or whatever, you know, when we needed something, you know, proper, and we get him, and you know, again, like, I thought he did a bit better when he came on, although I've heard a few people hammer him, but it's just a weird thing to do. They just seem so clueless to me. I don't get it. I don't know how they can be so incompetent.
It should have been a massive red flag when Jesse Marsch came in and he had about 3 staff with him.
I was going to say that.
Most professional managers, most top managers, you see them come in, they've got their go-to guys. They're all out of work waiting, much like what Bielsa did, but maybe not as emphatically following him. But these top gaffers, you best believe if Rafa Benitez comes in, he'd go, right, I need you, I need you, I need you. He knows exactly who he wants alongside him because he knows what works. Jesse Marsch came in with about 3 staff and they were like, oh, you're going to bring some more staff in. It took them ages to fill all those roles, and Maric came in. I don't think that was Marsch's pick, but like, so then when he leaves,
that was 2 days before the start of the season that Maric came in. So not only did he not get the staff at the half a season he had last year, but they didn't bring any staff in during the summer. It took till then to get Maric in, and then till a couple of weeks ago to get his assistant manager Armisen. That's
and
a
he
year.
Didn't bloody listen to Maric anyway. Apparently. No. According to, if you can read between the lines of Maric's tweets, Marsch never bloody listened to him. So what's the point in him being there?
100%. And I just want to pick on, you know, something you mentioned about Ilya Meslier and just more about the squad as a whole. I've been talking about Meslier as France's number 1, you know, future number 1. And there's still a long time left. But for the last 3 games now, he's made 3 howlers. And that's what they are. And have cost us points. You know, and I get he's very young, and I'm not going to hammer him like you say, Max, you know, but I heard something earlier on Cage's stream where he said he saves a lot of shots because he faces a lot of shots. Do you know what I mean? And I thought, well, he's got a point there, but just to the wider look at the squad, I look now and I see Aronson coming off the bench. I don't think he's fit for no relegation fight. I don't think Rutter can run, let alone play football. I know it's early, but that's my opinion. I think we've overpaid for him. Scattergun approach again. It's not what we need. I know it's people will say I'm writing him off on that, and someone's saying those who say Rutter's not good are morons. I see it in the comments, but that's just my opinion. Now, I've been wrong before. I was wrong on Somerville, and I'll be wrong again. That's totally fine. But I just look at the makeup of the squad now, and I look at it and think, you know, we haven't got no Berardi. You know, we haven't got no Click. We haven't got no Pablo. We haven't got none of these names. I look at that squad now and I think, we're going to end up foot of the table with these. They're not built for this. They wilted. I'm sorry, they wilted. And the worst thing, sorry, Max, the worst thing is it'll be even worse for them at Ellen Road because they'll not be able to cope. They'll not be able to cope with the pressure of that full stadium. We've seen it before as Leeds United fans. We come, and if we don't start well, and if Southampton are on top, they'll fold. I genuinely worry about the makeup of the squad in this fight. That's
whilst I agree with that, Joe. Whilst I agree with they haven't performed to their value. Absolutely, completely agree. We said the same about Rodrigo until probably this season. I think it is a very difficult time to come into that Leeds United squad and start playing good football. When you've got no coach. Ideally, it'd be nice to come into a team and actually be coached by somebody. But also they're relatively young players that we've signed based on potential. Whilst I don't think they have performed anywhere near their value, and we've not seen much of Rutter. Sinisterra has been on. He's been injured pretty much since we've had him. And I think, obviously Gnonto and it's probably been the only success story. But yeah, I mean, for me, Aronson would still be better in that role than Jack Harrison. In fact, I would probably start Greenwood in that role just for his set pieces, just so we're not taking corners.
Yeah. I think Greenwood. I don't agree with you on the Aronson shout. That's just where my head's at with him at the minute. I think there's a good player in there, but Greenwood, yeah. And I said yesterday during the game, I said, this Skabala's worked with these young lads. We should have matched Everton up, especially after the first half, because Onana was all over us. We should have gone, do you know what? I don't have Rocker, but I'll put JB in there, and I'll go with 3 up top. And I'll go physical. Exactly. Put 3 in midfield, but he didn't do none of that. James just says, in a relegation fight, you need a leader like Coleman who bleeds and fights for the club. A 34-year-old shutting down Wilf is embarrassing nonetheless. I think this is another thing as well. Like Nonto, again, Skubala and Jesse was the same. They're beasting this kid. They're leaving him on for 90 minutes because in a few games he's created magic moments. He's 19. If he's not playing well or not getting a tune out of him because they're doubling up on him, then change it. And that's why we need a new manager. It's insane for me.
Joe.
I know it's only Sunday, but it's still insane, Joe, that we're not aiming anything, bro.
No, I get that. I don't disagree with what you're saying. But I do think there's a slight overreaction on certain players, and I'll be very honest and say
that's fair.
Every single week there's an overreaction. I've seen people looking for Creswell to come back. Anyone who's talked to anyone who supports Millwall, Creswell had an awful first half of the season and is really struggling to get himself in there. It's got better over the last couple of weeks and he's settling in. Ian Pavetta scored yesterday. Should we get him back from loan, considering he hasn't played a game all season? We do that as well. You know, people are watching live score and seeing a clip on Twitter and going, well, we should get that player back. And then Melier shit, and then Rutter's shit, and then Nanto is shit. We're just saying there, Nanto, you know, is a 19-year-old kid. Rutter's just gone 20. There's no difference. They're both kids. There's a couple of weeks, a couple of months in the difference. They're both kids, but yet Willie he's a young player and we should give him time and look after him. And Nanto is shit. And we've overpaid and we should get rid of him. Like that doesn't make any sense. They're the same age. They're the same kid. Nanto wasn't supposed to be ready. And arguably Rutter's probably not ready. So you can swap those two around, get one player out of it. But you're buying potential with Rutter. They bought 30 million for a player who is going to be a player in a couple of years' time. Unfortunately, like Willie, they've been thrown in now. You know, Rutter probably wouldn't be coming off the bench in these games. It'd be Bamford coming off, only for Rodrigo got injured. But it goes both ways. There's an overreaction when we play well. Is this player, you know, when Liam Cooper scores, it'll be where's the Liam Cooper haters at? If Sinisterra scores, or if we get if Rutter scores next week, you'll see it. Where's the Rutter haters at? This stupid overreaction because someone said one good game or one bad game. And I've said
for Bamford to cup his ears to the south.
Yeah, but it's everyone's an overreaction to one instance. Now with Bamford, it's slightly different. It's a longer one. Harrison, we all went into meltdown over January. Jack Harrison's had more bad games for Leeds than he has had good games for Leeds. He's had smashing big moments at times when they were needed, but the rest of the time he's been average or vanished and gone missing in the game. He hasn't been able to cross the ball for the last 4 years, yet he's a winger and he takes corners and he can't cross the ball and never could. Under Bielsa, we were screaming, get Harrison off corners. We're back to Harrison on corners. You're a winger and you can't cross the ball. You're a right back and you can't take a throw in. You're a centre midfielder like Tyler Adams and you can't pass the ball 5 yards. Like, these are basics of football. But there's, again, when one player has one bad game, there's this massive overreaction to it. And then they have one good game and there's another massive overreaction to it. Go back to something that was said. Maybe these players aren't as good as we think they are. Maybe we just think they're better. Maybe they should be better, but actually when you put them all together, they're probably not that good. You know, maybe we're exactly where we should be. I mean, I don't think we are, but there's an argument to be made for it that results in league tables don't really lie. And we are where we are because of that. So, like, there's not a huge amount of positive stuff, but I think the extreme reaction to go after players, you know, after 1-2 games. A couple of weeks ago, Melier was the best goalkeeper in the world because he'd saved a one-on-one with Haaland. And, you know, this week he's the worst goalkeeper. I'm not saying anyone here is saying that, but you read it. You've all seen it.
I get it.
You know, get rid of the guy.
I think
these things even themselves out as well.
Context is absolutely vital in these situations because I think if we were comfortably mid-table, even if we were like 14th and Rutter had signed and he wasn't doing very well, we'd all be saying, "Oh, give him time, give him time." It's just because we're so, and it's totally understandable as well. We're so desperate because everything's going wrong, everything's falling apart around us, and we're like, "Well, we've signed these players. Why aren't they good now?" So I kind of get the frustration, but I do think that the time is running out for patience. But with certain players, we kind of do need to be patient when they're coming in. And Joe hit the nail on the head with paying for potential because he's not a £35 million player right now. Hoffenheim has said, well, in a few years, he's going to be worth £60 million, we think. So we're going to charge you £35 million now because you're going to make a massive profit. Obviously, that it's a risk, but that's what we do. But I think going back to Skubala as well, I think a big red flag is when we're playing in that game, and like somebody said before, Onana is absolutely overrunning our midfield because we've got two in there. But to not have the insight to say he's destroying us here, we need to swap. We need to make a change here and put another midfielder in. Even if, I don't know, like even if you just put JB in there, like somebody said, he's physical, at least he'll battle. And Onana, I thought he was injured. And I said, when he went down, I said, if he goes off here, this could turn the tide of the game because who have they got to replace him? Bloody Tom Davies. So, and Onana is a very, very good footballer. He was excellent for Belgium at the World Cup. If he goes off, the tide of that game changes because it was won and lost in midfield. But the fact that Skubala couldn't just go, oh, we're being overrun by this excellent physical player, let's just put somebody on him and stop him doing it. He didn't do it. And like I said, I don't want to go too harsh on Skubala because it's not his fault that he's got that much experience. But why has he been given this? And also, why is there even a possibility that he could get it to the end of the season? It's for a Premier League club. It's ridiculous.
The word ideal was used as well, Max.
Yeah.
The word ideal.
Yeah.
The ideal scenario is that's not an ideal. He wasn't supposed to be in charge this weekend.
Yeah, we said this though, didn't we? We said that Leeds United will try and, me and Chris spoke about it on a stream. I know for saying that the club will gamble, and if he wins, they'll go, well, we got it right. But they deserve no credit because it was just a gamble. But guess what? It's gone wrong. And they still aren't changing it. Steve's just said Alan Nixon has tweeted about Leeds 2 minutes ago. Listen, I'm blocked by Alan Nixon. If you question any of his sources, he just blocks you. So if anyone's got that or can find
Let's see if I'm blocked. I'm blocked by 99% of Twitter, so there's a good chance I will be.
Alan Nixon, you can just say that's untrue and he'll just block you. Genuinely, you don't have to abuse him. He'll just block you. So anyone's got him, please do check it out. And listen, we've got over 1,000 people watching, which is absolutely amazing. So thank you all for the support. And if you haven't already, go into the description and make sure you follow everyone on the... You're blocked. Yeah, there you go, bro. This is what I'm saying. Everyone will be blocked. If you question him, you'll be blocked. So yeah, that's his Twitter. If anyone can go check it.
On Max and Jer's sort of point is, let's be honest, and it's never been, and we've said this before on here, it's a League One outfit running a Premier League team. And it always it has been for many years. And Bielsa didn't paper over the cracks because these aren't cracks. He papered over canyons with how the club
tweet that. I'm famous. I tweeted that.
Did you say that?
Yeah. I tweeted it the other day.
I appreciate that, mate. I'll scroll back on Twitter and make sure I like that then. If that's
steal it, bro. Just steal it, man.
You never said nothing. Prove it. That's what it is. It's a League One outfit at the top of the club who are clueless. And I know I'm not going to get into too much now because I'm sure you're going to ask about him around the group. But that director of footballer of ours, he needs to get gone. Not tomorrow, not the day after tomorrow, right now. But he won't, and he'll turn up at the weekend, bold as brass, and it'd be giving it big licks in the stand because his ego's that big. And he's running the football club, and he's an absolute lunatic of a human being.
It is. Apparently, good shout out. Claudio says, looks like they would prefer someone out of work. Must have considered the likes of Benitez by now, but he is never cheap. So nothing really with any sort of validity. We could have all told you that. Look, we've touched on the game, etc. But we all know who's to blame for this, and I do want to talk about those three stooges that are running or are in control of this football club before we look at what we're going to do next with regards to the manager chase. Rocco, I want to come to you, mate. Here's a stat for you. I'm sure you will have all seen it. But since Bielsa, since Victor Orta said sack of the board, not only are we the only team in the Premier League to not win a game, we are the only team in all top 6 tiers of English football, including National Leagues North and South, to not win a game of football. So that's like the full 92.
You'll never sing that.
I know, yeah. But this is the point, right? Since that clown said that, we have not won a game. And we're talking League North and South, and we still haven't won a game. It's mad. It's mad, mate.
Yeah. Orta, like you say, he should be sacked right now. He should have been sacked a long, long time ago. I think, to be honest, there's been a total underreaction to that his behaviour after the Bournemouth game. I think it's probably the most disgraceful thing that any senior person at Leeds United has ever done in the history of the club. Worse than Bates. Bates had more decorum than that. He is an absolute disgrace. Shushing our fans. Us. He works for us. We're the club. how can he do that? How can he have so little respect for us? I mean, it's just absolutely beyond unacceptable. And he already did it at Brentford. So I don't understand how Radrizzani can keep him in a job, especially given his record with hiring managers and signing players, which is the other thing. Obviously, he's got some right, and well done. But I mean, does he scout players himself? Does he go and watch players? Does his team watch players, or do they just read spreadsheets and see who's done the most attempted dribbles over 90 minutes and their age, and like predicting that they're going to do better in the future? And like, could they have really watched Christensen? Because you can see within 5 minutes that he's not a footballer. Like he's just not a comfortable footballer, is he? Like he
blame Jesse for that one. Blame Jesse for that one. That's Jesse. That
exactly. One. That's the most baffling thing. But let's leave him out of it for a change. But yeah, mate. I mean, Orta for me is. I'm just. There's no words. He is. I think probably worse than Bates, and that says everything for me.
That's wild. That's wild. Go on, Rocco. Do you know what, as well? At Brentford, he did actually say, and obviously all these videos are coming back to bite him on the arse now. Like, that's why you should always keep your mouth shut. It's the same with Radrizzani and stuff. Someone actually tweeted me earlier from a tweet from December 2 years ago where I put, hashtag in Orta we trust, you know what I mean? But that was then. This is now. The last 18 months have been absolutely brutal. And I'm talking to you, Juan Martinez, who did that. But, he even said after Brentford as well, like, or before Brentford, saying 17 years before no Premier League. Thanks to me, now you are in Premier League. It's insane. The ego of the man is uncomparable, I think.
Can't count either because it was 16.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's so true. Oh, man.
How much money do you want? I can't count anyway, so here's a big bag. Here you go. Transfer. Exactly. He thinks he paid $3 million for Rutter.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? What do we do? What? He's not going to sack him, is he? He's not going to sack him.
They all go together, or they don't go at all.
Yeah,
that's the way it's going to be. But like, I've been looking. I had an older Twitter account, and I binned it about 4 years ago because I went looking for a poster that was doing the rounds that I had that was Orta out from like before Bielsa. There was a nice little movement that was going around for a bit, and they had taken the Leeds social media templates and they put Orta's face on it, and it was like Orta out beside it, and that was going on before Bielsa. It went on at Borough as well. It's not hard to find what happened at Borough. Just all I got to do is Google Victor Orta Middlesbrough, and it's everywhere. Like, questioned, but the signings and the impact the signings he'd made had been caught going to the dressing room talking to Karanka about tactics and what he should be doing with the team, and he was being turfed out of Middlesbrough, and he got saved by Leeds. They gave him a job. I think Victor Orta is a very good underage scout. I think he has an eye for young talent as a scout. I don't think he should be let near a club to make decisions on a club, especially the manager. Everything that's happening now was happening before Bielsa. I said this last time I was on. Bielsa made him bulletproof for 3 years. He got, and we forgot about it. We forgot about the bad stuff because everything was great. And then we're back in the Premier League. I was like, well, sure, at least it wasn't the Championship and it's not bad. But this had happened before. And then Bielsa goes. And as you said, Joe, a couple of weeks ago, or it might have been Chris, Bielsa changed the entire club from the back. And Bielsa was created everything that the club had for the last couple of years. And then when you remove him, you get to see what the Stooges are actually capable of doing. It's not running a football club because he did it again the weekend. This business, when the fans were chanting it, he leans in with the air. It's the video outside. There's the one sack at the border. You can see Angus Kinnear's face standing beside him where he's like, oh, just stop. Like, so get the weapon out. Yeah. Anywhere else, in any other company,
it's not that type of show, is it?
And he's gone.
You'd be first in line, wouldn't you, you boy?
But any other company, any other job, for any of the things that he's done, he loses his job. Someone said it was it Snowden that gave the cop the fingers when he played for Leeds, came off the bench, scored a goal, gave the fingers to the stadium, and was sold the following week for doing it. So like he's running part of the club and he's doing it to the fans. He's giving the fans the finger, and you're like, how you've lasted this long? You've got a couple of good signings which have probably kept the Wolves at bay, but ultimately it's been failure after failure after failure, and it was failure after failure after failure at Middlesbrough as well.
Do you know what the worst? Sorry, Max, just to jump in before you go. The worst thing is as well, like in a week, right? They've made it worse because you had all the positivity after Jesse's gone. We get a result midweek. Boom, yeah, okay, well, but what they've presided over now by leaving Scoobs in charge is a loss to Everton that has put us 19th in the table, and then Southampton, when the whole atmosphere is like, we are going down. And I'll say it again, if we don't start well, and if Southampton go in front, it's going to be brutal. And they've done that in a week. Like, to think where we were, and I hate to do it, but to think where we were, like I said, everyone's second favourite team. I know we didn't like it. Murals going up everywhere. Everyone's happy, backslapping. We're all. This is it's never been seen before since I've been around. The kind of loving that was going on, and then in 18 months, they've just absolutely crucified it. I don't know how you can get something so wrong, and the quicker they're gone, the better for me. I don't care about this. Oh, they got us back to the Prem. You getting stick from fans of the football club for calling them out and using Bates, Chilino, all this. It's bullshit. Are we going to just ride it and say, go on, Chris, I'm annoyed now. I'm going to
I tweeted about it. I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday about that very argument, mate. People saying that, oh, would you rather Chilino or Bates? No, because they were complete cranks doesn't mean the current mob get free passes to make.
They're also not an option. It's not a competition. Like, it's like who's the worst owner we've had hold my beer. Like, it's
like we've got a leaderboard, isn't it, of who was the crappiest owner?
Oh, hang on a second.
That was the point I was going to make as well. People saw Radrizzani come in, and because he wasn't completely insane like Chilino was, people were like, "Oh, he's a good owner." And
we're back to this again. We're back to
exactly. People lower the bar. Ken Bates, Chilino lowered the bar so low that if anybody who isn't clinically insane runs the club, we were thinking, "Oh, they're all right." And then, like you say, people get on your back if you mention Bielsa's name, don't they? But it's important here. It's so important to mention Bielsa because he ran the club from top to bottom, and he did everything. They basically didn't have to do anything other than sign the players that he wanted. They went to him with players. He said,
and they still didn't do that, bro. They still didn't do that.
Exactly. And so it's important to mention him because he made everything seem like we were a well-run club and fooled us all into thinking that. And as soon as he'd gone, there's nothing good that's happened since, apart from a few signings, which any sporting director will get a few signings right. Like, it's not the end of the, like, people can see that Willie Nonto was on that Wonder Kid list, tipped to be Golden Boy, whatever it is, that list. That shows that he's going to be a good player. Like, anybody, Stevie Wonder could see that. But I just think that people sort of compared them to the last ownership. And because the last ownership was so bad, anything seemed better. But now we're 18 months after Bielsa and we've sacked a manager and we haven't got another option. And we've got a man with 6 months experience with under 23s in the job. It's like, we're a Premier League club. It's ridiculous.
Do you know what? Well, you mentioned Bielsa. I think let's have a Just Joe football show exclusive. I sat there because I was so infuriated with us getting battered week in, week out by at the end of Bielsa's reign, right? And it didn't mean I wasn't thankful for everything he'd done. He was incredible man, incredible football manager. But I was one of the people who went, I think it's done. I think it's over. How wrong was I? Because clearly he was pissing completely into the wind, dealing with all these muppets in and around the top of the club. And he managed to paper over it for so long before it became untenable to carry on doing it. And I suppose it's not an apology because I stand by what I say at the time. End of the day, that was my opinion. And you know what I mean? But that opinion now, in the cold light of day and with what's gone on since, I can see was 100% wrong. And the bloke on his own was making Leeds United a viable product. And ever since the day he was unceremoniously turfed out, which even as a person who was saying, I think it's time for change, the way it was done was absolutely disgraceful and tells us everything that we need to know about this board and the owners of this football club, because you do not treat a man who did what he did in 3.5 years like that. It was disgusting. And I said that even at the time when it happened, that's out of order. And so, yeah, in the cold light of day, I was absolutely bang wrong because clearly the poor bloke was just on his arse. because he had no support around.
They clearly, sorry, Joe, I know you want to.
No,
they
go for
clearly
it, yeah.
they did screw him because the guy won't even answer Radrazani's calls to have the training ground named after him. And I used to say this, and people have mentioned it before, and I used to say it because obviously some of us are a little bit older, and then Twitter wasn't about and all this sort of stuff. I used to say to people on here, enjoy it while it lasts. Even them spank it, the 6-2 and all that. I get it. I understand it. But anyway, I'm going over old ground. But yeah, like, enjoy it because look at us now. It's an absolute joke. We are. I feel like we're a joke. And Toby Ward hits the nail on the head. Common sense to get a backup manager after Marsh. Does anyone have the answer as to why we haven't? Like, what? Yeah. Why are we waiting for Slot and Iriola? Because we're going to be in the Championship. So even this article, yeah, true, coming out from Phil here saying, in an ideal world, they want Skubala till end of season. You're clutching at straws because we won't be. I dare say we'll struggle to win a game.
The logic is completely backwards for me because if they're refusing to pay a release clause of a manager that's 5 to 7 to 10 million pounds, they're going to lose so much more than that if they take the risk and get relegated. It's worth paying that money just to stay up, because if you go down, you've lost 100. The club, the value of the club halves, probably at least. And all the players that you've bought over the last couple of years, all those players who have potential that you bought to sell on, they're all gone, mate. They're all gone. So what is the point leaving it with somebody with 6 months experience? Get a manager, pay whatever you have to pay to get the manager. If it's Rafa Benitez, pay him however much he wants to be our manager.
Give him a bonus, a stay-up bonus. Just throw money at him, you know. Because ultimately, the prerogative has to be to stay up. Like the Premiership shit, you know, it's rife with money. It is shit, and you know, VAR. We're seeing teams sitting back to just get a point every week just to stay in that league because it's financially secure and it makes money, and that's what it's about nowadays, football. But yeah, I mean, completely agree with you. We've got to have some sort of ambition and just go for it. These last 15 games, we can either sit back and leave it as it is, like we've seen reports today. Leave Scoobs in charge, and ideally pick up the odd point here and there, but we'll probably still be relegated. Or we can actually fucking throw some money at somebody, have a real go over these last 15 games and try and change something. Something's got to change drastically after that performance. There's no fooling anybody, you know, leaving Scoobs in charge. Imagine we go behind it at Southampton this weekend, you know. It'll just kick off.
It might have been a good thing that what happened to Everton. It might have been a good thing to show because after the Man United games, everybody was going, "Oh, well, maybe Skubala's not that bad." After this game, everybody's like, "No, not until the end of the season." We saw Radrazani is obviously seen that everybody said no to Schroeder, and then it was never close. So they do look at social media. They do see the general fans' opinion, and it's almost good, I think, that we lost in the way we lost to Everton, because we were so bad and the decisions were so bad from a management point of view that all we can do is say, thank you, Skubala, go back to the under-23s. But that's the only positive I can take. There
is a similarity, though, to a moment last year in the Aston Villa game where, I don't know if you remember, but one point in the game we dropped into a low block and just stood still, and Aston Villa had the ball in their own half and nobody was making an attempt to go to the ball, and the entire stadium just lost their marbles, and then the players start running forward. And I think Everton is possibly that moment this season where if they put in that shift in Ellen Road, the same performance, they'll know very quickly how the fans feel about them. They might be kicked into reaction because it's needed, but that place will get nasty at the weekend.
I'm there this weekend in the Cheese Wedge. It's going to get toxic if we don't.
I'd love to know
performance.
I'd love to know if our lovely owners are actually planning on turning up at the weekend, or if they'll sit this one out. Let's see how brave Victor is coming to the weekend. Not that that's a threat, but
he'll be there.
You know, yeah. But I don't think
100%.
I think it'll be worse than it's been. I think it'll be worse than it's been till this point, you know, and I don't think he's seen it. It's absolute worse. And it's again, you start seeing the Chileno projector stuff on the stand going around now. People are starting to talk. They trust now want to meet with the club to find out what's going out. So it's getting back to that Chileno kind of stuff where all the supporters groups are starting to step in now and go, the hell is going on here? Like the big thing for me is I don't know if they care that much. I don't know the deal with the 49ers. I don't know what the payout is like if we go down, but it looks like they're just not spending any more money because a £6.5 million release fee is not a lot of money in football. Like that's peanuts in the Premier League. You wouldn't pay that for a player. So go get him if he's your target. If you think he's the one that you want, and if you can afford it, pay it. But I mean, the same with Corberan, offering him a 6-month deal instead of a 2-year deal or an 18-month deal even. If you need these people in, give him the 18 months that he wants. And if it's not working by the summer, sack him. You're only paying out a year then. It's still a short-term contract. But get them in. But
just on that, Joe, why would they want to come? Who would
now it's different. Now I think if you go back to when Marsh was sacked, you saw what was coming up and you thought there's still a good chance that we should be still okay. But it's someone saying about the Marsh stuff as well. There's no contingency plan in place for when they sacked Jesse, but they had a contingency for Bielsa for 3 years. But they did nothing for Jesse. So, and just on what Max was talking about as well, we know for a fact that Orta and Bielsa had arguments and road. Apparently, they were very heated arguments at times, so we can see some sense there. But they don't know what they're doing on their own. They can't be let to make a big decision. The 49ers are not in a position where they can really make any decision just yet because it's not their club yet, so it's not their money. Rodgers Angels want to spend the money right now to get somebody in, and it won't be his problem in 6 months' time. So
just where does anybody actually know officially? I mean, not even officially, but the rumours. Where do we stand in terms of 49ers and their takeover and proposed takeover if we're not in the Premier League?
I think the official date is summer 2024, but there is a clause for this January. For January coming or for the end of this season.
I've heard best case is that if we're not a Premier League club, it'll be renegotiated with the deal to obviously reflect the value of the club. And the worst cases I've heard is they'll just turn on the reels and go.
Possibly.
But they still own a percentage anyway.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they still own it. So they would have to sell their percentage of 49%. I think from what I led to believe, there's this 49ers investment arm that includes like a lot of rich people. Now they can just say, no, we want to invest in a Premier League club and look elsewhere. Yeah. But the 49% is owned by someone. So they have to either buy Rads out or say, do you know what? We don't want to buy out. We're going to sell our shares. But then anything could happen. We could end up with another Chileno, man. You could
end up with somebody who's involved in that fund, like Pete Lowey's in that fund and he's ton of money. But like the way I understand
Leeds
it
fan, isn't he?
Yeah. The way I understand it is, even with the 49ers themselves, 49er Enterprises are the parent company or the umbrella company. And when they're going to buy somebody, they set up a fund and they invite investment from other investors into that fund. So the Leeds United part of the 49ers Enterprises wouldn't necessarily contain the same people that would be in the 49ers American football team's fund, but would have some of the key people would be in that, but not everybody would be in that. And that's how Lowey comes into this. He's part of the fund for Leeds. So it could be a case that they just decide to wrap up the fund and people have to try and figure if they buy their own stake in the club or they get a share divided up. But there's good people in that group from what I've been told and what I've seen. But if we're not in the Premier League at the end of the season, you could absolutely understand them just going, this isn't worth the investment. And we've seen how it can turn when it's not going well. So maybe we don't want to be part of this.
The thing is, for me, with that, Joe, is they've clearly invested this winter. They've clearly put. There's no way that Rads has put that money in for Ruta and potentially for McKennie, who obviously won't be here if we don't stay up. So they've clearly invested and chanced their arms slightly already. So it'd be really. I can see it getting very messy, is what I'm saying, if we do get relegated.
Yeah, for sure.
Just going back to Ellen Road this weekend. Can you even imagine if Victor decides to give it one of these or one of these this weekend? He will get a very different reaction from the fans around him than he did the last time.
I think he's going to understand why the directors used to sit up in a box really high up in the far stand and not in the middle of the crowd.
Because it will absolutely go off. It'll be a horrible atmosphere. And I mean, they bring it on themselves, right? As much as I'm not advocating it, they bring it on themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
We have to win that game to try and get out of that pack, though. We have to win that game. Everton was a must-win. Now that we've lost that, this game is monumental in our season. We have to get those 3 points so that we're not cut adrift from everybody else. We have to win on Saturday.
And in order for us to do that, Max, we need to get a new manager. Does anyone here now, because it is worryingly quiet, right? If there was genuinely talks going on, whether or not the club released it or not, some top journalist who's on Twitter would have something.
Didn't Ben
But there
Jacobs
is
say that
nothing.
they were talking to Nuno? They spoke to him last week.
So someone,
Yeah, they said they spoke. I saw something. Yeah,
There was no
they said
follow-up,
they
though.
spoke.
yeah,
And there was
They spoke
talk
to
about
him
the
last
swap
week.
with Helder Costa, wasn't there?
No, they were
Oh,
saying
that's
there's a
fair.
possibility that Leeds could do something
Yeah.
to reduce the fee by doing. But I said it was like a player-manager swap, essentially. But yeah, they've apparently Ben Jacobs said last week that his exact words were Nuno to Leeds has legs, was what he said. But I saw another article that said there hasn't been a follow-up from the club since then.
Yeah,
I
saw that.
was told as well that they've made contact with his camp, but nothing more than that. You know what I mean? But what are we waiting for here?
Like, there's no urgency, isn't it? It's mental that there's no urgency when, like, we need a manager, and now we saw when Dyche came in, he was able to have an impact instantly and get them a
4
win.
days, man. 4
And
days.
he's got 6 points since he's been in. 6 points in 3 games. That's what we need. Just 6 points in against. If we beat Southampton and Fulham, oh my God, will I relax a little bit more? But at the moment,
Fulham's in the FA Cup, innit? I couldn't give two shits about that.
Yeah,
no, it's fine.
Also clear, as long as the teams below us stop winning as well, because Southampton getting points against people they should have beaten, and also Forest doing the same thing against City. So
who's after Southampton in the league?
Well, the weekend couldn't have gone worse for us in terms of the results. Everyone around us won. Everyone picked up points, bar us.
What were you going to say, Rocco?
No, I was just saying it's Chelsea next after Southampton. But yeah, no, I mean, the one thing I would say, maybe they've learnt a lesson and they're making sure that they do keep things on the quiet and they're, not giving out as many leaks, being a bit more sensible, maybe. But that's probably giving them too much credit.
You're right, though. That was my thing today. I was thinking maybe, just maybe, they're going, right, let's not say anything to anybody. But I don't believe it. I just can't bring. I keep trying to convince myself, right, maybe something, but I just know with the journalists how there'd be something, but there is nothing. And come on, man, if they wait, we'll get beat, man, and then what? We're going down, aren't we? We're going down. Right, okay, we'll go around because we've done an hour, and I know everyone's got stuff on and that. I could chat to you all night. It's not really helped, but it's been fun all the same.
It'll be fine, Joe. Does that feel better?
Yeah,
fine.
Yeah, I don't believe you. Okay, so Chris, will Leeds United have a new manager in? If they do, who will it be? And will we win on Saturday?
No and no.
And
there you go.
No. Yeah, okay.
No, we won't be a manager, and no, we won't win.
Oh, nightmare. Give me a score prediction.
2-0 Southampton.
Oh, please, no. Luke.
I'm hoping so, new manager. If so, yes, we will win. If not, it'll probably be a draw, I think. And what was the other question?
Manager, who would it be? Who's it going to be?
Who would it be? I honestly don't care at this stage. Yeah. Anybody who can manage a football team, anybody who can come in and just give them a slap on the ass and let them understand the urgency and what it means to be Leeds, and just fucking have a go for these last 15 games. We're probably favourites for relegation now. Nothing to lose.
Yeah, true. Max,
Joe, just before you carry on, mate, because I've just seen a comment, someone saying 15 games to go, we'll be okay. What planet are these people living on?
How many games we already had, and we're second bottom.
Yeah. And we've won 4 all season. Right, sorry, I'll let you carry on. But
no, worst record since 1947. I know, worst record since 1947. There you go.
You can have a 17 years then, can't he?
Max.
Sorry, what did you say, Joe? I don't think we'll have a manager because it's just too quiet. Somebody put in the chat before, which I thought was very apt. Silence is a message, or silence is the news. And I don't think we'll have one by the time we go into this weekend's game. And I think we could lose, and it's going to be so toxic. But I'm going to say that we have enough quality to beat them, and we win 1-0.
Nice, Joe. I'll come to you.
If we have a manager, I think we get a 1-1 draw. We don't have a manager. I think we lose 1-0. And I'll be very specific. It'll be a James Ward-Prowse free kick on the edge of the box, from a stupid free kick. Because we don't have Max Vober at the weekend. So there we go. I would like it to be Nuno, just because, again, as I said before, I just think it's safe. I think he's a safe option. It's nothing. I wouldn't get excited about it. I would look to replace in the future, but I think for now it's probably a safe option. And I've no issue with Rafa either. I think it's another safe option. Knows the territory. If you get them in, great, but I don't think we will. One of my mates has said Villas-Boas. No one's talking. You know, there's a manager that's out of work right now. Is a good track record. I've been a very good coach. There's people there if we want them. We're just not looking properly, I don't think, or we're not willing to, pay their going rate.
They should just give it fucking Victor and say, right, you do it, you dick. You do it. See how you get on. Rocco, what about you?
That's a great shout. If we're going to go down, I would love it to be him that takes us down on the sidelines. If we have a manager, it'll probably be they'll go back cap in hand to Schroeder, won't they? And he'll be the new manager after all. But no, I don't think we will. I think I think it's pretty clear, especially from what Phil Hay said. I think they're going to see what happens on Saturday with Scoobs, and if he wins, then it's bought them. They sort of live to fight another day. Southampton are going to be licking their lips coming to Holland Road. Oh, yeah. Like they know how hard it's going to be for the Leeds players. What can you say? I'll just predict 2-0 to Leeds because I'm
but you don't believe it. Yeah, you don't believe it.
2-1, sorry. Because Ward-Prowse, obviously, the free kick.
Yeah, I think we might lose as well.
It's a guarantee.
Yeah, I think we might lose unless we get a manager. Rafa basically was begging for a job last night on Sky Sports.
Mate, he was. He might as well have stuck a post-it note to his forehead and said, Leeds United come.
I was waiting on a card to just come up real slowly, like higher Leeds, and just come back down again.
He even spoke about his staff. He spoke about wanting to stay in England. And the thing is, Nuno and Rafa, if we go down, they've both won the championship. Just give him the job. Like, what are we waiting for?
Is his work visa running out or something? Is he worried? What's going on? Needs
a new green card.
Somebody marry me.
Loved it. Right, folks, we will leave it there. Before we do, please make sure you like the video on the way and subscribe to everyone's respective channels. We've had over 1,000 people watching, touching 1,200 people, which is amazing. So make sure you subscribe to everyone's channels. And I know Max has got a shoot, so we'll leave it there. And yeah, we'll see you on the other side. Thanks.